Welcome, everyone. Today, I am joined once again by my colleague, Rocco Fiore.
Hello, everyone. Good to be back.
I am Blaise Fello. John's on vacation this month, but we'll be back next month. There was some big news coming from Syxsense this month, and as usual, another month full of discovered vulnerabilities, breaches, and exploits to discuss. We have a lot to go over today, so let's get into it. So, Rocco, big news from Syxsense, right? As some of you may know, Syxsense was recently acquired by Absolute Security. This introduces a new word to the Syxsense repertoire once integration between Absolute Security and Syxsense completes in the future. Absolute, if you're unfamiliar, provides resilience, which is the self-healing of a device due to Absolute's unique controls being embedded in the firmware of the device, which can additionally be extended to the application layer of a device. Absolute will integrate Syxsense's automated endpoint vulnerability, patch, and remediation management capabilities into the Absolute cyber resilience platform, providing an offering to help close the risk gaps traditional and outdated tools leave open. So, Rocco, with resilience now being introduced, why does resilience matter?
So first of all, this acquisition by Absolute was a very thoughtful one, with many synergies between the two organizations. Syxsense has gotten to know the Absolute team well into the past year, and as well as the technology. And with their resilience technology and combining it with Syxsense's unified endpoint management technology, now be able to utilize and leverage Absolute technology that is embedded at the firmware level for hardware resilience. And Absolute carries with it a deep heritage of that hardware resilience across more than 600 million PCs. So now having a comprehensive set of capabilities that ensures resilience across endpoints, applications, and security controls and networks, alongside Syxsense's automation capabilities, endpoint vulnerability management, patch management, broader remediation capabilities, alerting capabilities, monitoring capabilities, just create an even more robust platform for our customers. So these are all good things, or not even good, I would say great things, phenomenal things for our customers, truly creating a powerhouse, allowing our customers to experience more of that consolidation, that holistic approach to cyber resilience, consolidating many products and many point products into one product, giving you one single pane of glass, but also being able to reap the benefits of seamless interaction between these tool sets, where vulnerable endpoints, unhealthy management, security controls, as you know, expose organizations to ransomware attacks as well as other IT issues. And to achieve this maximum cyber resilience, we know organizations need that ability to identify and address security and risk gaps before proactively they cause disruptions. Syxsense and Absolute will, no pun intended or pun intended, absolutely help customers achieve this goal. So it's something we're super excited about here, and it's going to be a massive benefit to our customers going forward.
Yes, I'm so excited to see what the future brings for us and them. This is something that is I think one of the first in the field to kind of provide not only patching but that resilience side of it, where even if something happens, we'll be able to bounce back. I've heard the term like the Gumby effect used, so I'm pretty excited to see how that integration moves forward in the future. So resilience and hardening in the face of ongoing threats is so important. As we look back on this month's Patch Tuesday patches, which address about 74 vulnerabilities, several of which that have been weaponized and carrying high CVSS scores. If you've ever downloaded a file from the internet and had Smart Screen pop up saying its integrity could not be verified, that was the Windows Mark of the Web, or MOTW, service giving Microsoft Defender Smart Screen an opportunity to inspect that file. CVE 2024-38217 explains how this can be bypassed using a combination of low attack complexity and user interaction, enabling actors to easily exploit this vulnerability. So it's a good idea to educate users until the formal patch can be applied. We have another remote code execution vulnerability, CVE 2024-43491, posing a severe risk as this has also been weaponized, having low attack complexity, and the lack of required privileges or user interaction make this vulnerability particularly dangerous, enabling attackers to execute remote code without significant barriers. This mitigation requires the September servicing stack, as well as the September 2024 Windows Security update. CVE 2024-38014 is a privilege elevation vulnerability, which escalates privileges to system level, giving attackers unrestricted access to the targeted system. The vulnerability is already weaponized, increasing the urgency of organizations to prioritize its mitigation. Although it required local access, the low complexity and low privilege requirements make it relatively easy to exploit once an attacker gains a foothold. Without any available countermeasures, immediate patching is crucial to protect systems from unauthorized access and potential compromise. Organizations should remain vigilant, ensure all endpoints are updated promptly, and restrict local access to trusted users only. Not a bad idea in general, honestly. Those are the important zero-day CVEs covered in September's MSP Patch Tuesday release. It's so important having a patch solution that you can rely and trust to manage these deployments in a controlled and efficient cadence based on your environment's needs. A resource we cannot and probably should not get away from is the ever-growing capacity of LLMs and OpenAI. But even those have their own vulnerabilities. Rocco, would you like to share some of your findings with AI this month?
100%, and great description of the Patch Tuesday release. I have one question for you about that.
Sure.
Out of all the Patch Tuesdays this year, we're getting towards the end of the year, so we have a number to go off of. Prior was like 9, we're in September. Where would you rank this amongst the other Patch Tuesdays we've seen so far this year in terms of severity of what was released?
I would say this one is, if not most important, more important than others, because each of them, there are so many that are weaponized, being actively exploited as we speak. And so I think that's always important to patch as soon as possible, but probably more so now, as I described towards the end of each of those descriptions, that with them being not only exploited, but easily exploited when the foothold takes place. And so everything just kind of leads to an easy exploitation. So patching would be important to be done this month as soon as possible.
Great information. That's awesome for our viewers to know. And one thing to note about that too, I think for our viewers, is if Microsoft comes out and says there's evidence of it being weaponized, just amplify that afterwards, because as we know, probably the greatest open source intelligence vehicle out there for vulnerabilities is the Windows bulletin itself, right?
Mm-hmm. That's very true.
Letting the public know it. These are massive vulnerabilities if you didn't know about it before. So definitely hop on that patch if you haven't already. Syxsense obviously being a great way to automate that process. So thank you for the segue into the transition there into the LML piece. It's becoming, it was kind of on the latter end, right, of our podcast in the past. It's moving up in rank in terms of importance of talking about and relevancy to everything going on today. Adoption of ChatGPT, large language models is increasing, not just for personal use, but professional use. We've seen with the new OpenAI 0.1 release, most non-professional users have gotten it, if you're operating right out of the ChatGPT online interface and not through the API, have gotten the preview version. And it's, been recognized extremely powerful. Another moment of kind of moving the goalposts forward and raising the bar for LLMs. This one specifically is focused on enhanced reasoning capabilities and noted to be used more extensively for tasks like coding, math, right? STEM activities in that regard. I personally used it and I thought it was very proficient in being able to, way more proficient than other models in things like PowerShell scripting, Python scripting, etc. Still not taking over anyone's jobs, but it is becoming more a powerful tool. On the vulnerability side, because that's what this is about, right? We're seeing a lot more of a nomenclature and kind of a standard definitions around it, standard operating procedures around LLM vulnerabilities and risk. It's kind of interesting because it's almost playing catch up to the technology. But one thing we've seen recently is the vector database, needing to secure vector databases, obviously, scrubbing of PII and things like that along the LLM side. As we know, data going in needs to be protected, as well as protecting the data coming out of it. Speaking of AI being a force for good, big news, Absolute Security just yesterday released a new AI threats insights module to their security service edge offering. These AI capabilities stand to be extremely powerful within the security service edge offering, enabling detection, defense, specifically for zero-day threats and high-risk activity. So utilizing this module, artificial intelligence within the Absolute platform will be able to speed the identification, troubleshooting, resolution of incidents. This will, of course, allow for costly disruptions and downtime to be avoided, identify suspicious activity quickly, pinpointing individual users, devices, networks, processes, and applications that may be creating high-risk situations. Through this detection and identification and the monitoring of all traffic traversing managed endpoints to detect potential threats, business critical data will be protected, as well as customer PII data on these endpoints, reducing the risk of a data breach, and also help to achieve compliance with, of course, we know the stringent standards, PCI DSS, HIPAA, GLBA, BA, all the other regulations out there mandating protection of PII and other high-risk data. And of course, the synergies between Absolute's current offering with their AI module, leveraging their firmware embedded resilience to maintain maximum performance and connectivity, ensures that Absolute Secure Access SSE is always up to date, protected against vulnerabilities, and fully operational. And full circle, the Absolute offering, a suite of Syxsense capabilities in the future for proactive management. Now we're starting to see how true alignment of endpoint protection will result from the Absolute and Syxsense coming together. And we just love this new technology and this new feature that Absolute's introducing to their cyber resilience platform.
Yeah, that's a great testament to Absolute and their development team being able to introduce something like that AI integration with their product. It really kind of folds into our AI roadmap as well. So it's able to accelerate our offerings together. And I think that's just going to kind of bolster both of our products as we move forward into the future. A lot of people at the beginning of the month, though, turned their heads to this headline grabbing nature of a new vulnerability that's been introduced, though. And that was with YubiKey. YubiKey 5 is the most widely used hardware token for two-factor authentication based on the FIDO standard. So a lot of people were interested, especially because patching is not possible, leaving all the YubiKeys running versions prior to 5.7 released, which was in May 2024, permanently vulnerable. The only problem, though, is the exploit requires direct physical possession of the YubiKey, knowledge of the accounts that they want to target, and specialized equipment to perform the necessary attack. And some use cases need even more data. This all points to another situation of headlines grabbing our attention, but weaponization being incredibly difficult, especially when you consider something more plausible, like what happened to Disney's data loss breach, which occurred because principle of least privilege wasn't enforced to restrict what could be exfiltrated should a breach occur, nor was a BYOD policy enforced to control the devices users were able to access the enterprise data. So, like you asked about earlier, why these Patch Tuesday things seem a little bit more severe this month in terms of patching, because they can be exploited a lot easier, just because it's not necessarily headline grabbing like something like the YubiKey was. So, just like we talked about earlier with the Patch Tuesday patches having a more likelihood of occurring within your environment, which relates to also the impact of being able to be breached. I think it's important to follow these kind of basic principles in terms of least privilege, having users with the proper permissions applied to them and not having too many privileges for them to access data that they shouldn't be accessing, as well as around their devices. BYOD policies are important for those devices that would be accessing data that aren't controlled by enterprises. So when users use devices that are not provided by enterprise and don't have the right policies in place to enforce something like proper configuration, maybe other tools like Syxsense can be used to make sure that they do follow certain standards if they're going to be accessing enterprise data, or just having an official BYOD policy in place to restrict certain access from those devices, or set things in place that if they do have it, they'll be secure whenever they're accessing that important information. So when it comes to these patching tool sets, there's been a constant allowing for at least a low-cost approach to patching, albeit a high cost in time. Since 2005, Windows Server Update Services, or more commonly known as WSUS, has been around to manage the update process for Windows devices. Rocco, how is this changing given the extremely long life cycle that has been given to WSUS?
Yeah, Blaise. So something very interesting happened on Friday, the 20th. Microsoft announced the deprecation of Windows Server Update Services. Interesting, but not totally unanticipated. As Microsoft pushes the cloud, right? They are deprecating Windows Server and recommending that users move to a more cloud-based approach, utilizing auto patch, Windows Intune, and Azure Update Manager. And this doesn't come as a surprise. So details of how deprecation will take place is WSUS will still be offered and remained available in Windows Server 2025, right? Which means that this is not something that is imminent, that people have to tomorrow rip and replace their WSUS on-prem WSUS server and move to the cloud. What it does mean is at some point, if they are looking to continue operating as a Microsoft ecosystem, they will have to. We know, and Blaise, you definitely speak to this more as well and give some more detail, as you've seen it as well, is we've definitely seen many clients out there operating on a Microsoft on-prem patching architecture without Azure capabilities. So this, for many clients, will be or many organizations, this will be a infrastructure shift, and controversial. Fans of Microsoft or critics of Microsoft may have different opinions on it. So as someone, Blaise, who was managing an infrastructure with WSUS at one point, right? And then also you ditched it to do everything manual before you came to Syxsense. Great choice, by the way, coming to Syxsense.
I agree with that.
You probably give more color on your thoughts around this and your opinion regarding. What do you think? Do you think this is a gonna be a big impact to those environments? Do you think this is something that will long term be beneficial to those who are using WSUS and kind of being forced to get off of it?
I think the answer is yes to both of those. WSUS, like you said, it's not surprising that it's finally being deprecated. If you're a user of it, you probably feel like it's been deprecated a long time ago. It was released, and I like the term freemium, where it is available to use, but you have to spend a lot of time getting it set up and then maintaining it. And then, just like with most Microsoft products, it doesn't do everything that you want it to do. You're always kind of hoping it does a little bit more or something a little bit better. And so I feel like that's where the cloud can come into play, hopefully, where they can make those adjustments on the and not on the fly, but just make it more effective and efficient for environments, especially not needing to be an on-prem solution. That access can actually, I think, improve a lot of things. So will people be upset at first? Probably. There's a lot of effort that went into building an environment the way that it is. And if it's operating as they intend it to, then it probably even more work going into that type of deployment. But switching over to something like Syxsense, where you're able to control a lot of things and have so much more visibility, I think in the long run is going to be beneficial, albeit that the price tag isn't too high to enforce it.
100%. And you made a great point where it's the switching over to the cloud is going to be a good thing, right? Some people don't like to be forced, but what we would suggest is to reach out to Syxsense under your own volition and switch, because there's much value to come from using a cloud-based solution, specifically Syxsense. We typically find in these cases our third-party library, our testing and vetting of all content coming through, being deployed from our single repository from the cloud to our customers' environments and endpoints, and updating them provides significantly advantageous against traditional Microsoft products, as well as especially on-prem Microsoft products, freemium products like WSUS. Add on top of that the automation capabilities of Syxsense, and you get something you can't find with any other tool that's going to cut your time spent by, in half is an understatement. I know for you, Blaise, your time was cut from 130 hours a month to 7 hours a month using Syxsense, and that was just a low-hanging fruit within the first 2 weeks. So extremely advantageous to use a cloud-based solution, especially one with the automation capabilities of Syxsense. Now, coming off of that and going into rounding everything out, Blaise, you want to give a couple comments to close us out. One thing I would just like to just coming back around to and circle back around to is our absolute partnership. So I know to some it may be a surprise, but again, we're super excited for this partnership, for what it will bring in the future and the benefits provided to our partners, to our customers, to our partners out there, and the end users who use our product every day. So this combination certainly will provide our customers with the most comprehensive cyber resilience portfolio available, while enabling them to consolidate, streamline, and strengthen their endpoint security and IT operations. So everything I just spoke about in terms of Syxsense, moving to a cloud-based solution, everything we spoke about with Absolute's new AI innovation, new products, active monitoring products they're bringing to the table, this will all benefit we're super excited about it benefiting our end customers due to these expanded offerings, gaining access to a broader range of solutions that will address both the current emerging challenges of cyber resilience. So just wanted to add that in there before I hand it back over to you, Blaise. But thank you everyone for joining us today. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely. And the only comment I'll say, if you are a current customer of Syxsense, is not to worry. It's business as usual for the near future. So you don't have to worry about anything changing on our platform in the foreseeable future as the integration takes place. All the services and support will be offered the same at the top tier level that we have been providing the last number of years. So once again, thank you everyone for tuning in today. I hope this has been informative and useful. Every day, the Syxsense team identifies, classifies, and pre-checks various patches and vulnerabilities that affect common endpoints and servers. To get a full listing of all the various issues that may impact your environment, be sure to check out our website, syxsense.com, and under resources to access a link to the vulnerability database. What I also love about the vulnerability library is that we not only discuss the level of impact like everyone else, but we offer recommendations and resolutions to every issue. If you have any further questions, concerns, or suggestions for improvement, we would love to hear from you in the comments below or by contacting a team member. Thank you for your time, and don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed today's content to keep getting updates from us and the Syxsense team.